Hey, this is Stereo Police, back with yet another video of and about my Yamaha preamps. My Yamaha integrated amplifiers. I've got essentially three of them now. There's a new one that I just picked up, a new used one from the 80s. I'm going to talk about that in a minute and make a separate video on that one, but in the meantime, I believe in my last video I talked about Audio Nirvana and my ultimate, not my ultimate system, but my most pleasing system, and trying to reach that point where I can just not rotate gear and just enjoy what I have for quite some time. And right now, you know, I've reached that 90-some% point with what I have, and again, my turntable is not hooked up yet. It's still in the other room. I need to complete my system, but right now I'm super thrilled with, as I mentioned before, with the Klipsch Forte 3s. I can't say enough about these speakers. Can't say they never cease to amaze me day in and day out. All kinds of music. You know, now that I have them set up and properly towed in, I've got the proper listening distance and the sweet spot and the whole thing. And I already talked extensively about that, but it takes a little bit of experimentation, but I absolutely love them. I love my TAC DAC. NT503, I believe. I'm not going to get up and look. Love it. I'm streaming, I mostly stream directly from Spotify at CD quality, which is what's happening right there. I believe that's their highest quality, and I'm very, very happy with it. I have no desires and needs to go full high res and buy all these files and listen to the same 5 songs over and over again. I like streaming, I like variety. Love the Spotify setup. I use the tablet. And that controls the TAC. And I was, until a few days ago, using my awesome Yamaha A-1000 integrated amplifier from the early 80s with auto Class A mode, and with the direct button push, bypassing all of the tone controls and filters. And I thought that I was there, or almost there. Thought that I was happy until, and this is actually a good dilemma, it's not a bad dilemma, until I made the mistake, not a mistake, until I hooked back up into my system the Yamaha A-S1100. And I had this sitting in the other room on standby. I was going to use it in another system. There she is. Beautiful. Ah, I need to zoom out. Just beautiful. Awesome. Awesome build. Classic looks. And the sound is just almost beyond reproach. I say almost because I've got a dilemma between these two. A little bit of audiophile stress going on between these two integrated amplifiers, the AS1100 and the A1000. And for over a month now, I've had the AS1100 out of the system and just listening to the A1000, and very, very thrilled with it. And I was lured in, I was sucked in, I was drawn in to the A1000 by the highest of the high frequencies. Just so delicate, so sweet, so perfect. The best I've ever heard for the highest of the highs, you know. And but yet I neglected, or I kind of forgot about all the attributes of the AS1100. And just as a very, very brief summary, well, I won't be so brief. The AS1100 won handily with respect to bass. I won't say handily, they're both awesome amps. I'm not criticizing anyone. it was, in terms of overall tonal balance, in terms of dynamics, and even sound staging and dimensionality and bass control and mid-range sweetness and warmth. It's cliche, but tube-like mid-range, and I think I know why that is. It's because this is a MOSFET, a depletion, enhancement, no, a depletion type N-channel MOSFET. I forgot. Look at the schematic again, but it's a MOSFET, and whereas the A1000 is a bipolar junction BJT transistor based through and through. And let me go back and forth here and tell you the differences. The A-S1100 is fully discrete transistors, BJTs, and ultimately to a MOSFET power transistor output through and through. No op amps at all. Op amps in my world are evil. None. All discrete. In the A1000 there is, and a lot of these geeks who have little clubs, little niches based around the A1000, they either don't know, or they neglect, or they don't care that there is one op amp in the signal path that you cannot get rid of inside the A1000. And that op amp is in the tone control, and even when you bypass the tone control filters, you're still going through that op amp, but the op amp is flat. It's operating as a gain stage, a voltage gain stage that's flat and is not being filtered in the feedback loop to produce tone controls, but it's still going through that op amp. I guarantee it. I've studied the schematic. It's there. I'd love for that op amp not to be there, and perhaps that's why the AS1100 wins fairly handily in almost everything except for the highest of the highs. Another difference, the AS1100 is a circlotron output stage, and I've covered that in previous videos. A very cool way of configuring and biasing the output transistors. Awesome, really cool. Whereas the A1000 is a traditional push-pull, complementary push-pull output. The AS1100 is a Class A-B operation bias for the outputs through and through. The A1000 has a Class A mode, and what that Class A mode does is, and I've studied the hell out of the schematics, I know this, is it just simply takes the Class A-B biased complementary pair transistors. You have an NPN on one side and a PNP on the other, and it just simply increases their bias, and it pushes the quiescent point up the load line a few volts, so that both the complementary pair, both the NPN and the PNP, are operating in Class A for a few watts, and then they naturally, like they always do, transition into Class AB when the voltages reach a certain point across the output transistors. It's fine. It's Class A. It's push-pull. It is Class A. Up to about 10 watts, I believe, if I remember right. Now, having said that, I will say that from experience, I never get married to a particular technology, because amps can sound fantastic regardless of their output stage, whether it's a single-ended or a push-pull, whether it's a tube, whether it's a transistor, whether it's a MOSFET, whether it's a BJT, all the above, there's something about it. You just can't really say that one technology is better than the other. There's a lot of factors that goes in that are involved in how an amp is ultimately going to sound. Many of those factors, they do have to do with circuitry configurations, but a lot of it has to do with component quality. And one of the huge factors is the power supply. How well the power supply is designed and built, and how well it can regulate the voltage, and how well it can supply current during transients, etc. A big part of that is the filter capacitors. Part of that is the rectifier. So there's just a lot of things that go into how and why an amp sounds good. And I'll tell you what, as a former designer, I can tell you some of it is dumb friggin' luck. Absolute dumb luck. I'm not kidding you. You know, you can sit there and design circuitry. I used to a long time ago. I don't design anymore. But you can design something to be theoretically perfect, and it sounds like garbage, and you can throw a few things together you think might not work, and it sounds great. It's just the synergistic relationship of the various circuits along the way, the components, a lot of times it's freaking luck. No lie. I admit it. But I'm on a tangent. I digress, as they say. I hate that expression. That's why I just used it. Okay, so where the hell was I? Oh, I don't know where I was. But anyway, so I think here's where I was. Okay, so I popped in the A-S1100 back into the system just for shits. And boom, the sound. And this is the first time I've had the A-S1100 back in the system with my readjusted speakers. Closer to the wall, further apart, sweet spot going, the whole thing. First time. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. How damn good the 1100 was. And by the way, I almost sold the thing too. That's a different story for another day. Because I like rotating equipment, and if I find something better than the previous, I can't keep all the stuff I've ever had. Number one, I can't afford it. And number two, it just collects, and I always want to listen to what I think is my current latest and greatest, and things just sit on the shelf. And so I was thinking about selling it because I got married to the A1000, rightly so to speak. But now I have gotten a divorce. Yeah, I never got married to it. I'd say engaged. Okay, let's go with that. And we've broken up, the AS1000 and I. And I'm back with the 1100. It hit me like a ton of bricks. When I popped into this system and played some music I was familiar with, boom, right off the bat, the bass, the control, the ability to control the bass. I don't even want to use the word resolution or accuracy. I want to say control. This thing can just control that bass, and it sounds so awesome and so tight and so perfect and so deep. It was amazing. The AS1100 was astonishing. The mid-range presence and warmth, male or female, doesn't matter, vocals. I mean, it just, the mid-range presence, the overall balance from high to low, just stunningly perfect. And the dynamics, the dimensionality of the music, it all just hit me like a ton of bricks because I got used to the 1000. Not saying the 1000 is bad, it's awesome. But the 1100 bested the 1000, all that stuff. And also, now that I've got the Forte 3s on risers to get those tweeters at ear level where I'm sitting in one of those chairs right now. There's my carpet right there. It's a dog carpet. It has sweetened up the highs a little bit. Now I can still say, if there's one nit that I have with the 1100s, I think I still say the highs are not as crystal clear and sharp and accurate as the 1000. I think the 1000 still wins in that department. Not to say the highs aren't wonderful. They are with the 1100. And I'm not talking about when I say highs, I'm talking about way high. I'm talking about the cymbals crashing and hi-hats buzzing and maybe the heights of the peaks of certain horns. A lot of horns are in the mid-range area, but, you know, and maybe is it the word sibilance? The S sounds that vocalists make, that sort of thing. The highest of the highs, and I'm talking about maybe 8 kilohertz up to 14 kilohertz. Hell, I can't hear beyond 14.5 anymore. But everything else, all the other attributes of a good amplifier, the 1100 has, it wins. Now, say one more thing before I get into doing some samples here. Sound samples, because I want to give you the opportunity to listen to both the 1100 and the 1000. Same song, same gear, same microphone setup, the whole thing, so you can see if you can hear for yourself. I don't know. I really don't know. But give you an opportunity to try. But the one thing I'll say about the highs, the thing that I still have a little tiny bit of an issue with the 1100, is that I have heard this sound before, and one time before I've heard something similar in a very good amplifier. It was an ADCOM, and that ADCOM also had MOSFET output transistors. And I'm wondering if it's maybe a characteristic of MOSFETs over BJTs. I'm wondering, because both of these amps measure, you know, flawlessly. You can't see a difference in the measurements. Whether it's THD, whether it's, I've had them both on the bench, whether it's THD, whether it's square wave. I should have filmed the square wave response, but whether it's a square wave response, whether it's frequency, flat out frequency response, you know, their abilities to deliver power, they're the same. I think I did a slew rate on one of these. There's no measurement that I can come up with that can explain the difference. I think it's a inherent characteristic of a MOSFET that I'm hearing. And again, the highs of the 1100 are very accurate. But I just like that extra crisp, that extra bling ding, I don't know what it is, that the 1000 has to offer. Now I'm repeating myself over and over again. So, in summary, I have broken up with my 1000, parted ways temporarily, and I'm now running the 1100 full time, and I'm very glad. I'm glad I didn't sell it. And I'm now using the 1100 full time in my system, and I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. I love it. I love it. What can I say? And if you have the opportunity to hear one of these, by all means do so. Really. I don't want to recommend that anyone buy something without hearing it, because I don't want to be responsible for something you don't like. But if you get a chance to hear one first, Crutchfield has them, but, and with Crutchfield, and I'm sure other places, you have a 60-day, 30-day, whatever it is, return policy if you don't like it. But there's a little expense there with shipping, and I don't know about a restocking fee. I'm not sure what they do, because I haven't returned anything to Crutchfield. I've kept. Well, that's where I got this amp, and that's where I got the speakers too, by the way. I'm not doing an ad for them, because I don't particularly care for certain things that they've done, but they do have a good return policy, and it's one place to find them, but they're a reputable company. Alright, so that's my system. One more thing I will say is there's a new kid on the block. Is that it right there? Seems like things are really blurry. Hope it comes out a little better. This is another Yamaha. I was going to say integrated amp, but it's a receiver. And I picked this one up. Zoom out here. There we go. It's a Natural Sound stereo receiver R9. So why the hell did I buy it? I got two Yamahas right here, both of them I love. Well, got a good price on it, got a good deal on it, and what I liked about it, it's a receiver, and I don't care, I don't need a receiver, I don't need a tuner, I don't listen to tuners, but it's got that, you know, it's got that similar kind of look to the A1000 with the little drawer that opens up and the tone controls and everything, or, you know, these things are all aluminum and high quality, and but it's got an auto Class A also, auto Class A, and it also has a tone bypass, which I like. There it is, thank you. Okay, they call it direct on the A1000, but it's called tone bypass here, and that's pretty much what it is. And what I was intrigued about is the auto Class A, the actual circuitry, the actual amplifier circuitry, because of course I pulled a schematic before I bought it. I had to know, got to know what's going on in there. It's a different output topography. The A1000, the output transistors are arranged in a beta multiplier Darlington pair. I should be drawing this, but I don't have any paper. Push-pull Darlington pair, complementary pair. Whereas this amplifier, the output transistors are paralleled, and they're different transistors. So it's a parallel arrangement. I can say that this amplifier, the circuitry is much more complex. This was a very simple power amplifier arrangement relative to that. In fact, this is one of the simpler ones I've ever seen. Classic design, simple, paralleled output transistors. So it was a different design, and I really wanted to hear the difference. See, you know, and it operates in Class A as well. So I want to use this receiver as a preamp, essentially, and because I love the A1000 so much, I just wanted to know, hey, am I missing something with this different output design? By the way, the A1000, early 80s, the R9, mid 85-ish, 86. So the R9 is a later design. It doesn't mean anything here or there, doesn't make it better or worse necessarily, but so I had to know. So I'm going to be making a video about the R9 coming up real soon. I want to get it on the bench, I want to pull it apart, look at it, test it, make sure everything is working fine before I hook it up to my speakers and blow something. I'm going to bench test it first. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to call this video part 1, and in part 2 I'm going to do some listening, some sound samples of, I'll pick a song that really represents not only what I listen to, but a good recording that where you can hopefully get a feel for the dynamics and good bass frequencies, good treble, good, you know, the whole thing. I try to find a song that I can play that YouTube won't, you know, copyright infringe on. Probably use one of the ones that I was thinking about, that Who song, Who Are You? It's a remastered version. It's so well recorded and so not compressed, and Keith Moon is just a wild man on that song, and everyone, the Who is great. Might use that one because I know I've used it before and there's no copyright infringement on it, and I'll play that through the 1100, then through the 1000, and maybe you can get an inkling of perhaps, hopefully, what I'm talking about here, and make the decision up for yourself. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Thank you for watching this one. Just wanted to give you an update. You know, this is just one of those, I don't know if you guys go through the same thing, you know, if you're like me with audio and rotating equipment and tweaking and back and forth, and sometimes you hit a dilemma and you can't make the decision, is this one better than that one, and you put this one in, it becomes your favorite, and then you try the other one again and all of a sudden you like that one better, and I don't know. It never ends, and it seems like it never ends, but you know, and there's a certain amount of, I won't call it stress, but you know, I get stiff neck sometimes doing this stuff, like, oh God, you know, I don't know, I can't describe it, but it's supposed to be enjoyable, and it is at the same time. I don't know. But anyway, I'll call this one part 1, and I'll do part 2 it's Friday now, so I'll pop this one and we'll do a part 2 probably next week, because I've got a busy weekend coming up. So anyway, thanks for watching, and ciao. See y'all again.